welcome to Christmas Eve edition of NFL Primetime. Ho, ho, ho! The Seahawks had plenty to cheer about as Sean Alexander went for the record books and Seattle went for the #1 seed. NFC East battle. Could the Giants get it done or could the Skins get close and continue their climb up the charts? Cowboys trying to stay alive in South Carolina. A surprise there. Overtime at the new Sombrero. Bucs and Falcons each can kick themselves literally. Muddy conditions in Kansas City would be enough to ground the Chargers. Could the Chiefs get in the hunt? We hand out all NFL presents on NFL Primetime. Coming up.
NFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite. Primetime is Miller time. And now, here's your host, Chris Berman.
Hi once again, everybody, along with Tom Jackson, as always, for 19 years on this program, NFL Primetime. I'm Chris Berman, and from all of us here in our house to all of you there, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, and just have a wonderful weekend. And you too, at the Jackson household as well.
You as well, Boom.
You know, we think football, but this week, anybody connected with the game at all, and many who know this gentleman so well, our hearts go out to Tony Dungy, Lauren Dungy, and their family. And you saw it today in Seattle, among other places where the Colts were playing without Coach Dungy. That's Jim Caldwell, the interim coach, as Coach Dungy, and the Seattle fans and the Colts players wearing the decal for James Dungy, who took his life apparently on early Thursday morning in Tampa. And Tampa, who was home, and so much of where Tony Dungy's players and coaches still are, there was a moment of silence there as well. And I think anybody in football felt it. And if you know just a little bit, you know what kind of man and what kind of faith and what kind of professionalism that he and his family live by. And we can only, as we've said all week long, remind you to hug your own a little much more this weekend as you celebrate the holidays.
Yeah, I certainly couldn't say it any better than that. Fans, players alike, and those of us who are, you know, fortunate enough to actually know Tony Dungy, I think we're not surprised at all by the outpouring of love and affection that is there for he and his family. You know, it's a tragic situation, but again, Tony Dungy is such a special man that he will find some way, somehow, to make the very best of this.
And his instructions to his team were just go out and be professional and just carry on for me today. And so we will do that as we'll have more on their game. But we will, on this program as well, carry on and show you the football on Christmas Eve, which is really pretty much the full Sunday. And so here we go to the Dolphins, who were eliminated from the playoffs, going up against Tennessee. And we start rolling with some of our highlights of some of the early games. And I got to tell you something, a lot of what playing is about is even when you're out of it, the way you handle yourself professionally, as Coach Dungy would say. That's Gus for Steve McNair, and left the game in the second quarter for Tennessee. Gus Ferrant to Chris Chambers, what a month or 6 weeks he's had.
Yeah, look at Chris Chambers work his feet. It actually looked like foot on foot there at the end, but that counts as the ground. That's a solid score for the Miami Dolphins.
17-10 late in the game. It's Miami, but Ricky Williams is going to run this for 35 yards. Who can remember the last time he ran for over 100? And watch another look at this play, and he gets the blocking. He said, this is why I came back.
Yeah, that was Darian Barnes and Geno James opening up a big hole for him. He scoots down the field for a big gain.
Well, he hits the hole on the right side, and then goodbye. 19-yard run. That was Pac-Man that couldn't stop him. Ricky Williams, 26 carries, 172 yards, grounded and play today. And Nick Saban's Miami Dolphins, a team that won 4 games last year, won 8. They've won 5 in a row. They're 8-7. They beat Tennessee 24-10. So here's a team that was eliminated last week and was never expected to be in it, but a team that is playing for something, playing for themselves.
Yeah, playing for themselves, playing for their coach, learning what kind of team they're going to be next year, and a possible 9-win season in store for them if they could somehow win another football game next week.
St. Louis Rams at home against San Francisco. And the Niners, that's Maurice Hicks, second-year running back, NC-A&T. Barlow sitting. Hicks had a big game against the Rams early on this year, week 1. Remember, they beat the Rams. Adam Archuleta, see ya. Hicks could go all the way. Here's the Niners, a team that offensively challenged and played hard defensively. They go into St. Louis, a team they used to own, but then for about a 5-year span would sit on them, and they say, wait a minute, these are the same old blank Rams. But Jamie Martin and Torrey Holt says, maybe not. Touchdown, and the Rams led 17-7. Martin throwing for 354. Joe Netney, 4 seconds left in the first half, 56-yard field goal, good. 20-17 now at the half. Still the same score in the fourth quarter when Frank Gore, you know what? He won it. The Rams are just hanging chads as Gore, one of his 2 touchdowns, and the Niners go on. They've won 3 games all year. 2 of them are against St. Louis. They win 24-20 to snap a 7-game losing streak. They play Houston next week, which may have, quote, gotten themselves out of the Bush sweepstakes. But why not? They have Gore.
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot about the running game with all the games today. But, you know, Hicks, 10 carries for 109 yards. That will make you comfortable offensively.
And the first road win of the year for the 49ers. Meanwhile, the Lions and the Saints playing really their first, quote, non-pack-a-suitcase home game since the middle of October because this game is in San Antonio. But a season has been for Jim Haslett and the Saints and an Aaron Stecker. It's a fumble, looking, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Sean Rogers is not going down. Lions, touchdown. Look at this. And it's a fumble. Look at the big guy, Tom.
Yeah, just watch the effort. Big lineman gets his hands on the ball. You got a hard time bringing him down, and they can't.
They can't bring the big guy down. And so Todd Bauman starting these days for New Orleans. Long for Devery Henderson, son, make the catch, will you please? That's pathetic. Just, it's there. It was good. John Carney kicked his 4th field goal, but it was 12-10. On 4th and 17, Joey Harrington hits Roy Williams, and he gets out of bounds.
Yeah, great play with little time remaining on the clock.
And then Harrington, the much maligned Harrington this year, starting back for Garcia to Williams. First down, tick. Hurry up, Jason Hanson. Get out, Harrington. Get on, Hanson. Tick. It's 7. It's 6. It's 5. It's 4. It's 3. Jason Hanson. Good. And the interim coach, Dick Gerard, one of the great guys in the sport, gets a win. Hanson mobbed by the Lions. Harrington leads them up. Look, it's a game that won't hit much in the seismic scale, but Detroit wins 13-12. The Saints have lost 10 of 11, and Detroit snaps a 5-game losing.
Yeah, and I talk all the time about the integrity of the game, playing for yourself, just like Boone said. That trio of games, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the Lions, all representative of the character of the NFL, which seems to be in very good shape.
Yeah, some of the teams at the bottom of the barrel playing better than some of the middle of the barrel teams here this last month. When we return, a team that has certainly found its stride. Pittsburgh goes into rival Cleveland and rattles the Sabres. The Colts and Seahawks. Colts playing with a heavy heart. The Seahawks playing for home field.
NFL Primetime, presented by Miller. There's good enough, and there's better than it has to be. Miller, good call. And in part by Chevrolet, an American revolution. Welcome back to NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
Cincinnati Bengals can roll up the points, and into town came the Buffalo Bills on this day. And a lot of talk about Chad Johnson from him saying, hey, wait till you see. I might bring a deer. I might bring, who knows what I'm going to bring first. I got to bring it in for a touchdown from Carson Palmer. And you know what? You're fearing the worst, and he actually does the best. Wait a minute.
Where's my deer?
No, there's a bag of gifts. Signed Bengals hats and footballs and shirts.
He's a good guy.
He is.
He's a good
all right.
guy, and he's having fun.
9 catches, 117, and gave out 30 gifts. Meanwhile, third quarter, the Bengals leading at 17-13, but Terrence McGee, Bills special teams. He could go all the way. He was the Pro Bowl return man last year. He was a Pro Bowler on this play, Tom. 99 yards, 20-17. Now with the game tied at 27, under 2 minutes to go, McGahee stopped by Landon Johnson, sets up Ryan Lindell, and with a minute to go, the Buffalo Bills are leading in Cincinnati by the count of 30-27. So, shocker, but Carson Palmer talking to his receiver. Here's Carson. Uh-oh. jipping out of bounds a little. Next play, Palmer stays in, under a minute to go, and throws, and it's picked off by, is it the same guy? McGee, gone. And for the first time in NFL history, a man has returned a kick for a touchdown and an interception for a touchdown. They've played since 1920. Amazing. McGee does it. And the Bills, another one of those teams, Tom, snapped a 5-game losing streak. They shocked Cincinnati 37-27. Now we're going to make the Bengals play hard to keep the 3-hole. They may be down to the 4th seed. The Bills have now beaten the Bengals 8 straight times, and maybe it was fitting Sam Weiss, members on the Bills coaching staff, he's back in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and you start thinking about the Cincinnati Bengals' last couple of football games. At home, Cleveland, Buffalo, and now all of a sudden you start wondering, is this team going to have the momentum they need as they go into the playoffs, and certainly not securing the seed that they needed?
Did you say momentum?
Momentum.
Well, let me introduce you to the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that had lost 3 in a row, but they beat 2 teams in the Norris division. And now Big Ben Roethlisberger back in stride, playing at rival Cleveland. 3 hours away, but worlds apart. Every week, Hines Ward makes a tough catch like that. And he's passed Lynn Swann, second all-time Steelers, on a touchdown less than 52.
Runs his route right into the teeth of the defense. Perfect delivery by Big Ben at the back of the end zone.
Pittsburgh's defense, you were wondering how they were doing. Here's a fumble with Casey Hampton, causing Charlie Fry to fumble. Joey Porter from the backside had 3 sacks today of the Steelers' 8. Brett Kiesel had 2 sacks. It's now 3rd and 26. What could happen? Hello. And so we told you about Pittsburgh's D, and now you know, Tom, better than I do. Can we get a shutout? I mean, giving up 3 is one thing. Playing
want it.
How about a shutout? Well, meanwhile, the offense, Willie Parker. Here's why he's starting. This guy's got wheels. He could go all the way. Parker, 80 yards. He's the first 1,000-yard back for Pittsburgh, not named Jerome Bettis since 1992. Barry Bananas Foster, an old-time primetime nickname. And the Steelers just destroy the Browns 41-0. They win next week, and they're in the playoffs. Pittsburgh has won 3 straight to the tune of 80-12, Tom.
Yeah, running the football, the key to any Bill Cowher coach football team. You can see what a good job they're doing at that, over 200 yards rushing today. And especially this time of year, you want to be effective running the ball.
And they're home next week to Detroit. And they beat them, they're in the playoffs. Jacksonville's Jack Del Rio knows that they can win and get in the playoffs for the first time since '99. David Garrard against Houston, who swept them last year and played them close earlier this year, and then that's thrown away on 3rd and goal. But they call holding on Jimmy Smith on a ball that's thrown away. C.C. Brown, he was C.C. Ryder on that play.
I guess.
So LeBrandon Tofield, a touchdown. He had 3, and the Jags would 7-0. Now, the David Carr in the 4th quarter to Andre Johnson, and with 12 minutes to go to the game, here's Houston playing hard for Tom, leading by the count of 20-17. Could they pull the upset? But no. 9 minutes to go. Fred Taylor, what? And then, what? What a run that is. Taylor, 101 yards rushing, and the Jaguars go on top 24-20. They add 2 more touchdowns, and they win it by the count of 38-20. Congratulations to Jack Del Rio and the Jags. Last time they were in, Tom Coughlin coached them in 1999. So the Jags are in, and no matter what they do next week, they are the 5 seed. So they are the top wild card seed in the AFC. Pittsburgh is rolling. We told you the inside track. And then Cincy, which is in, and who knows what they'll get. It's about momentum at this time of year. And the teams that are the wild card in or hopefuls playing better than some of the division champs.
Yeah, it's about momentum, and it's about defense and running the football. And say what you will about the Jacksonville Jaguars, a healthy Fred Taylor, and he certainly looked that today. Going into the playoffs, going to benefit their offense, regardless of who's playing quarterback.
The Cincinnati Bengals have the better record of all of those teams we looked at, Pittsburgh Steelers included. However, you can see that they've lost a little momentum. And again, when Pittsburgh is running the ball, the way they're running it right now, they're going to be difficult to beat, whether it's in Pittsburgh or whether it's in your building. Wherever it is, they will be difficult to beat. They have a lot of playoff experience.
I will say this, and we don't know yet what the story is, if Pittsburgh gets in or KC is still alive and playing. We're going to have to talk about this later. But this AFC is chock full of dangerous teams.
It's going to be
chock full of dangerous teams. When we return, here's a dangerous player, Michael Vick. The Falcons had to do something they don't usually do, and that's beat Tampa Bay. Game went a full 5 quarters, a crazy game. And the Giants are hot. They could win the division if they could win at Washington when the Skins are playing their best football of the season.
The Fantasy Ticker, brought to you by Chevrolet, an American Revolution.
Philadelphia, the NFC representative in the Super Bowl a year ago. Different year for them in Arizona at Sun Devil Stadium. Nice day to play football. Mike McMahon pass tipped, and then Carlos Tiny Dansby takes it in for the touchdown, and Arizona leads at 13-0 first quarter. Now at 20-7, McMahon, you know, he's so much trying to make something happen that this has happened. He fumbles the ball. John Runyon, we saw this time, and then get out of here. I called that play, by the way. I gave it to Andy this week. McMahon got hurt on the play. Coy Detmer would come in the game. So with the score 20-7, Josh, tears of McCown to Anquan Bolden, and the Cardinals led at 27-7. Philly scored twice late, but it was not enough as Arizona wins a rare game. They win 27-21 over the Eagles. 5th time this year that Bolden and Larry Fitzgerald have each had a touchdown in the same game, and to see Philly's offense still challenged under 200 yards.
Yeah, and another team, though, in Arizona, down and out, nothing to look forward to necessarily this year, but playing hard and you know, trying to finish the season the right way.
They won a game. And Philly ends with Washington next week in Philly. Be careful. So, the Cardinals beat the Eagles 27-21. Now, games of more import. Dallas off a tough loss last week to Washington, but Drew Bledsoe tells Bill Parcells things will be better here in Carolina. I know they got big defensive ends. Jake Daylight come. You got it, Delhomme. The Drew Carter didn't look better right away. Carolina led this game, Tom, 10-0, and Delhomme fake.
Yeah, watch the pump fake. As he pumps left, that pulls Roy Williams over just a little bit toward the hash marks, leaves the corner one-on-one. You don't get that safety help. Throw and catch touchdown.
Well, and so down 10-0. Remember, they were lambasted last week. Julius Jones up the middle 8 yards. Is now a 10-7 game midway through the first. 13-10 closing seconds of the half. Billy Cundiff misses a 32-yard field goal. Julius Peppers said, wait a minute, I got some of the kick. Panthers go to the half 13-10. Then Drew Bledsoe, mid-third, dumps it to Jones on the screen for 14 yards on 2nd and 22. Gets the Cowboys back in position to 2 plays later. Jones, whoop, up the middle. You can drive a truck through it, and Julius does the rest. 43-yard run, 194 yards for him. What a day. And the Cowboys, how about the Cowboys? They lead 17-13. Steve Smith's had a great year. Caught only 1 ball today, Tom.
Yeah, you saw a little bit of frustration. He comes clear on the crossing route, the shallow cross, doesn't get a chance to catch the ball. And he knows that putting the ball in his hands gives them a great chance to win.
And DeMarcus Ware forces a fumble. Steve Smith picks it up, and anytime the ball's in his hands, dangerous. He tries to make a first down, and Terrence Newman rides him out of bounds. Smith says, wait a minute, you hit me late. And he grabs the linesman, Mark Steinkirchner, and says, wait, he hit me late. And Steinkirchner says, I don't like what you said. I certainly don't like that he hit me. And he threw him out of the game.
Now, it certainly didn't look like the contact would have gotten thrown out of the game. Now, we are certainly not sure of what Steve said to him, but, you know, you touch an official, you risk that happening to you. Certainly hurt the chances of the Panthers of winning the football game.
Borderline ejection, but Jake Delhomme to Ricky Prohl. How many times have they hooked up in clutch situations? 2.5 minutes to go. It's 20-17. Billy Cundiff misses a 33-yard field goal attempt, the big play of the game. Julius Peppers gets called for running into the kicker. And so Carolina feels they haven't won. They went upstairs to look and see, did he get any of the ball? Because that would allow him to run into the kicker. But they said, no, he did not. Dallas keeps it, and Bledsoe hits Terry Glenn for a touchdown with 29 seconds to go. What an amazing turn of events.
You want to see some great footwork? Look at the tap right there with the toes just before he goes out of bounds. Coach Parcells very happy.
Well, Dallas has had their share of wins and losses in these tight games. This time they win it at Carolina, which knocks Carolina into a bit of trouble in the NFC South and puts Dallas, although for the division, not in good shape, but still keeps them in it, and puts the Dallas Cowboys in a situation where maybe, just maybe, they can get in by the wild card route. So, you know, it's funny, and Steve said it this morning, these two teams, and look, they're good teams, but you trust Carolina, they don't quite do it. You trust Dallas, they don't quite do it. When you give up on them, they come back. Is that the way it is with most of these players?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the way it's been almost the entire season. But, you know, we talked so much this morning about Julius Peppers and Rucker and the kind of pressure that was going to come to bear on Drew Bledsoe. And I think the fix that Coach Parcells found for that was the power running game. We're going to run the football 41 times for 214 yards, control time of possession, basically keep you on your heels when it comes to rushing the passer. That has always worked, but it's not something that we see consistently on a week-to-week basis from any of these teams.
And the kicking game had Bill's heart going like this. And the first time anybody got over 300 yards, if I'm not mistaken, against Carolina in a long while. Picked the wrong time to allow it, and now Carolina now in a little bit of trouble because elsewhere in the division, in this NFC South, it seems like everybody plays everybody all the way down the stretch. And this would be Atlanta at Tampa Bay. If there's one team that Michael Vick has really struggled against, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who defensively just seem to have his number. Here's one of our prime cuts on Christmas Eve edition of NFL Primetime. And before we say anything else, look, Tony Dungy and his mark on the Tampa Bay franchise, and many of the players and coaches who are still there and fans revere him. Obviously, the tragedy, James Dungy, happened in Tampa, moment of silence, and his ex-players, like Mike Allstott, play it real hard. Allstott into the end zone. I didn't get a chance to go whap.
He went over the top.
14-7 Bucks. Michael Vick falls down but finds Michael Jenkins for a first down. Falcons moving at the 8 in the second quarter, late in the half, and Vick, Jenkins, touchdown. Wait a minute, these teams aren't supposed to score this much. 14-all with 3 minutes to go in the half. Now we're going to move into the fourth quarter with the game tied at 17, and Vick to Jenkins. How did he catch that? Between two defenders over Rondé Barber especially.
Yeah, Rondé Barber has had such an outstanding season. We have not seen this very much. And even that's great coverage, but it's a better catch.
And so sets up T.J. Duckett. He's in there. Falcons lead 24-17 with 4 minutes to go in the game. Now, the Bucs with Chris Sims driving. But really it was Cadillac Williams who was driving. They often call him Speedo. His real name is Mr. Earl. Cadillac, 31 carries, 150 yards. And then Sims to Joey Galloway. Just short of the first down. 4th and inches from the 5. The Bucs have to go for it. Cadillac, beep, beep. And he's in. Touchdown. We're tied at 24 with just seconds left. We go to overtime. And the Bucs win the toss. They choose to receive, but disaster. Edel Shepard, he gets hit, and fumble! Ronnie Hurd is on it for Atlanta. The game is going to be over before the overtime started, Tom. Jim Morris says it is. Hey, ran a couple plays, bring out the field goal team. Todd Peterson, blocked. It's blocked by Dwayne White. Wow! And John Gruden says, you got to be kidding me. We gave the game away, and now we're back in it. Then, Tampa ball. Sims for Galloway. Oh, man, how'd he make that catch? 8 catches for 97 for Joey. Chris Sims, 29 of 42. Matt Ryan, he shanks it. We saw more short field goals blocked or missed today, Tom, than we've seen in a month.
Yeah, distracted by a bad snap, tried to get down on the ball a little bit too much, shanks it left.
Wow. Last tie was 2002. The Falcons will be in trouble if they tie. The Bucs not bad. Meanwhile, over a minute to go, just a minute, and there's going to be a tie. Mark Jones, Falcons special teams. They made the hit the last time, but they allow a big big punt return by Mark Jones. Chris Sims from midfield to Alex Smith. 15 yards to the 34. 20 seconds left. Now, Matt Bryant. Please, would you just, please. It's good. It's good. And the Bucs win it 27-24. And coupled with Carolina's loss, Tampa Bay controls their own destiny next week. If they win it, the Buccaneers, who host the Saints, they will win the division at 11-5. Carolina then would be forced to go to the wild card pool. Although we had Copernicus and Galileo for a while saying, let me look at the stars. Atlanta, you're still in it. They're not in it. They're 8-7. Michael Vick knows, not good enough.
You know, we just didn't play, championship-type football when we needed to. And some points we did, some points we didn't. Whether it's on offense or defense, it's not going to win games for you. And playing like that, we won't even win a game in the playoffs. You know, to have that kick block, it kind of, put everything in perspective. Like, maybe this just ain't our year, man. I mean, things just not going the right way for us.
Well, they never made the playoffs 2 straight years. So a disappointing season for Atlanta. I mean, I know there are 3 very good teams in the division, and Tampa, which it seemed like they've been scratching to just stay within Carolina, all of a sudden they're the ones in the driver's seat. They got a gift after that fumble.
Yeah, key for Atlanta. You dropped a few games during the course of the season that I think you should have won. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, when Cadillac Williams is healthy and running the ball, the 31 carries today, you can see how John Gruden is willing to ride him right to the playoffs.
Chris Sims a different quarterback.
That's exactly right.
They look, and they play at home again next week. They had that 3-game road trip in Tampa Bay in the driver's seat. Carolina hoping. We'll run through it all a little bit later when we return. Well, the Redskins were hoping to douse the Giants, and a receiving Moss gathers the rock. Peyton Manning played a little bit with the Colts with heavy hearts in Seattle. Welcome back to Christmas Eve primetime. Last year, Philadelphia rolled in the NFC East, but this year, anything but a roll. Philly's the only one out of it, and the Giants, the Redskins, and Cowboys, with their fine coaches, had the shot. Both the Skins and Giants come into this game with a 3-game winning streak. The Giants won at Washington, they win the division. If not, that's why this game is one of our prime cuts as the Giants come in. On the road, Eli Manning has only won 2 road games, but more are coming. Mark Brunell, screen to Santana Moss, breaks the tackle with the big fella out there. Not even the hand in front of the camera could obscure a 7-0 lead.
You take a look at this. It appears to be Will Allen's fault. He comes up great. I think he forces things back to his help, and he doesn't have enough help from inside, outside to make the play. It's not just Will Allen. That's the entire football team.
7-3 Skins in the first, but Chase Blackburn playing in the place of Antonio Pierce. Boy, he has made a mark in the middle for 2 games. The interception, Brunell's first interception at home since week 4, and the Giants lead 10-7. But Brunell, undaunted, play action, and you just know you got to cover Santana Moss, Tom.
Absolutely. Always manages to get behind the defense. Little stutter go on Will. Will never has time to turn around and pick up the football, and great adjustment made by Santana Moss to make the catch.
And Will feeling like Burns and Allen. Second quarter, 14-10 Manning. Drops back Lamar Marshall. Picks it off and takes it down to the Giants' 20-yard line. On the play, Shockey complaining while the play's going on.
Well, you're frustrated because you had the hand to the face right there, but, the game's still being played, and by the time you notice, Marshall's already off and gone down the field.
And that puts the Skins in position for this. Clinton Portis. No, he's going to shot put it to Chris Cooley, who catches another touchdown, the H-back, and the Skins lead it 21-10. Final seconds, first half. Manning, Merry Christmas! Well-dressed Amani Toomer gets the tip ball off teammate Plexico Burris' hands.
Great concentration by Toomer. Ball tip. It's a tip drill.
The tip drill.
Tip drill. They run it all the time.
And we do it every Sunday morning. Giants trailer 21-17. So now with the gift, they sack Brunell. Nick Bryson is in. Brunell leaves the Redskins punt, and the Giants drive into the red zone. This has been one of their bugaboos. First of all, they don't get a touch, and they try a field goal, and Jay Feely has it blocked by Ronaldo. There were a lot of short field goals, but the kickers kicked the ball low, and this was just never had a chance to get in there. Now, Patrick Ramsey hadn't played in a long time. Timeout. Later on the timeout again. So the Skins out of sync. The Giants smelling the lead. They smelled wrong. Ramsey to Santana Moss. He could go all the way. So the G-men could have had the lead, but now they're down 28-17. And Allen again is the one torch.
Yeah, Will Allen again. If you're covering Santana Moss, of course, he's torched everybody in football this year.
Yes.
Add Will Allen's name to the list.
So the field goal makes it 28-20. Clinton Portis on the outside. Too much wheels. Touchdown. Portis, who outrushed Tiki on this day, 108-80, hit 35-20. And then Eli Manning, don't close the book yet. Well-dressed Amani Toomer, 36 yards, but wait, holding on the play. And so the Giants felt they could creep in it. No, now they try it again. And on 4th and 2 for Tom Coughlin, it is incomplete for Burris. And the Giants go to Washington. Coughlin wants the call. Boy, the Redskins are the team playing ball now. And it looked like they were gone. But at 5-6, they were in trouble. Now they're at 9-6, have won 4 in a row, snapping the Giants' 3-game winning streak. The word on Brunell, sprained ligament in his right knee, MRI tomorrow. So we'll find out then if Mark Brunell will be ready for the Skins finale at Philadelphia. As we go inside the numbers, the Skins last year, with Joe Gibbs' return, versus this year. Well, already with a game to go, Tommy, they've scored almost 100 points more. You see that many more touchdowns. And the offense just much more in sync. You can look at Brunell, you can look at Santana Moss, and you also can look at, I know the Giants got 20 points, but the Redskins, at least at home, in these 2 games where they beat Dallas and the Giants, they're packing that punch up front. And those 2 tackles held Strahan and Umanura without any sacks.
Yeah, our offensive line doing a great job of doing the punishing style of blocking that I think Joe Gibbs really appreciates. Clinton Portis has certainly adapted to that style of play with his front four, and they protect Brunell by running the football. You look at the Giants in the game that they played, 2 things that strike me. Number one is the 16 carries for Tiki Barber coming off of a 220-yard day last week. And then in the red zone, you just have to be successful. When you get down inside the 20, you have to score, and the Giants were unable to do that.
You know, I don't mean to say those 2 tackles. A lot of people don't know Chris Samuels, Pro Bowl Nottingham, and John Jansen. They're 2 of the best, and they held the 2 Pro Bowl defensive ends without sacks and without a lot of tackles. But here's the deal. Giants win next Saturday night on ESPN at Oakland, and interestingly, old Super Bowl Giant quarterback Kerry Collins, they will win the division. If the Skins win in Philly, they will at least be a wild card. Dallas is the odd man out in this division, and the wild card race, they're going to need some help. When we return on NFL Primetime, well, the San Diego Chargers off of their run to beat the Colts. Could LaDainian Tomlinson and company win at tough Arrowhead? And then the Broncos and Raiders. Broncos playing for the 2nd seed.
Inside the Numbers, brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. With Visa's multiple layers of security, you're covered.
Oakland at Denver. They won there last year, and you can be sure that Mike Shanahan took a note. Norv Turner and the Raiders just trying to play some sort of ball. Shanahan 16-5 against the team he used to coach. Jake Plummer to Rod Smith. Rod down to the 2-yard line. It's already 10-0 Broncos. 3 minutes to go in the half. Mike Anderson, now he twisted an ankle later. He gets into the end zone, twisted left ankle. The Broncos missed the extra point, but it's 16-0. Raiders trying to drive in the final minute of the half, but Nick Ferguson is there to make the interception, and the score remains the same. Now 22-0 in the third. Kerry Collins to Randy Moss, and watch Al Wilson and Carl Pema. Tom, this is your section. They hit Moss hard, but he holds on.
You just watch right there, Randy Moss making a tough catch in the middle of the field, and linebackers jacking themselves up. Randy Moss a little jacked up.
Well, in the end, the Broncos, a workmanlike performance. They got back to, you know, you saw it in the second half against Buffalo, and they win it by the count of 22-3. And with the win, the Broncos have now clinched a bye. They are the 2nd seed in the AFC playoffs. And the Broncos knew going into the game that they had won the West because of what happened in the Kansas City-San Diego game, which Look, the Chargers last week played one of the great games of any team and finally knocking the Colts off their undefeated perch, who were 13-0. The Kansas City Chiefs, though, at Arrowhead, especially late in the year, really tough. Matter of fact, they've won 17 straight in December, and Marty Schottenheimer, who used to coach at Kansas City, is responsible for a lot of that. Well, you saw Larry Johnson, you saw the rain and the mud situation, but no matter what the condition, Dante Hall is always a threat on the return. He takes the punt and a 44-yard return in a scoreless game. Larry Johnson. Wow. Bam. Nobody wants to hit him, Tom, and when you do, it's no use. 21 yards, 4 defenders try to get a piece of him. He's just a load. And watch this. Left side, Willie Rope and company, goodbye. Touchdown. 17 rushing touchdowns for Johnson. Remember, he wasn't starting all the time this year. Now, Drew Brees rolls right. Then throws back to his tight end, Antonio Gates. Came on. 7-7 Gates, 10 touchdowns. It's in the late first. Chiefs 3rd and 12 now, second quarter. Trent Green to Sammy Parker with 1 M, but 1 TD. Touchdown to Parker. The Chiefs 7 of 10 on third downs against that Charger defense that looked so good last week.
A lot of that due to Larry Johnson and his ability to run the football.
Did you mention Larry Johnson? I think the Chargers watched the Chiefs tackling films last week. No, they didn't get him. No, they didn't get him. They didn't get him. They went to review it, but he hit the pylon first. What a play from Trent Green to Johnson, 28 yards.
You know, when you have a runner to the sideline, you use the sideline as an extra man, force him to come back to you. The Chargers don't do that, and Larry Johnson makes his way to the pylon.
Grandmama, tough indeed. Extra point missed at 20-7. Now we go to the third quarter. Where's LaDainian Tomlinson? Here he is, cutting back between the guard and the tackle, 20 yards, but LT just 15 carries, 49 yards. Later on the drive, Brees passing to Tomlinson, and he floats it, but the wet ball into the hands of Patrick Surtain. And now, the Chiefs trying to put it away. Look at Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson, 8 straight 100-yard games, 32 carries, 131 yards. Dick Vermeil, his Kansas City squad is still alive. They beat San Diego 20-7. And although both the Chiefs and the Chargers are 9-6, Kansas City remains alive, although they need Pittsburgh to lose next week and Kansas City to win. And the Chargers, as good a team as they can be, and we know that, they are out of the playoffs. So too many tough losses early,
road
piled
trips.
up with the most brutal schedule. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses. It's Eastern time zone 5 times,
Exactly.
teams off by 3, and then all of a sudden you lose a game you shouldn't, and then now you're in trouble.
Yeah, and a game of human nature as well. You know, I've said it, these last 3 games, the inverted donut. It's not the 2 great games wrapped around the good game that you had to play in the middle that you missed. It's the 2 games outside that you lose, a game in the middle. Emotionally, I didn't think that they would be able to match that intensity that they had last week when they played the Colts. And for Larry Johnson, 1,150 yards in 8 games. That's easy math for anybody. 2,300 yards was the pace that he was on for a full season.
Well, and Kansas City at home, and they got the rain and the muck and the so. The highlight of the year for San Diego, they had a lot of it. They went into New England and blasted the Patriots. They went into Indianapolis, and the only team to beat the Colts up until today when it was resting time for the Colts. But there will be no playoff highlights for this Charger team, who will be a dangerous team next year. But in this year's playoffs, unfortunately, their final game, they're just playing Denver on New Year's Eve, and that's it. When we return, the 2 best teams in the respective conferences. The Colts have the bye in the AFC, the number 1 seed. And with Peyton Manning watching a lot, could Seattle get the same in the NFC?
You are watching NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
Welcome back to NFL Primetime, everyone. As we all know, and we spoke about at the beginning of the show, the Indianapolis Colts, they have, for football terms, done what they set out to do in the regular season. They were a team in mourning this week as Coach Tony Dungy was not with them. He and his wife, Lauren, in Tampa, where their son, James, had committed suicide. So this is Jim Caldwell, the interim coach, and the Seahawks fans and the Colt players and everybody throughout the NFL with a moment of silence and shows of support like the JD decals on the helmets. Meanwhile, in the game, Seattle had business to attend to. Individual business would be Sean Alexander. Overall business would be the Seahawks trying to be the #1 seed. Alexander in the end zone, his 25th touchdown of the year. The record is 27, set by Priest Holmes a couple of years ago. Down 7-3, Peyton Manning played a lot of the first quarter. Play action to Troy Walters. A 39-yard gain. Manning 9 of 12 for 116. Later in the drive, Colts trying to score and take the lead, but it's an overthrow to Reggie Wayne, and Manning sits out the rest of the game. Played the first 2 drives. Meanwhile, while Manning wore the headsets, unusual for him, and Jim Sorgi was in the controls. At the controls, Tom, was Sean Alexander. Stiff arm, stays in, tiptoes, 12 yards. Then on 4th and 1, well, let's see. Walter Jones, Steve Hutchinson, the left tackle, the left guard, they're going to the Pro Bowl. Robbie Tobeck, the center's an alternate. Where's he going?
You know, you talk about that offensive line. Let's talk about his fullback, Max Strong. Max Strong arrowed right there. He's going to get into the linebacker, Gary Brackett, chopping down at point of attack. You see Sean Alexander get the extra yard.
Max Strong after 12 years Pro Bowl bound, and Matt Hasselbeck to Jeremy Stevens for a touchdown. 14-6 Seattle. Third quarter, same score. Alexander busts outside, gets around the corner. The Colts resting several of their big defensive players all the way out of the 6-yard line. And then he's done it all on the ground until, hey, I could catch a touchdown. Matt Hasselbeck to Alexander, his first of the year. And 21-6, the Seahawks lead. Alexander with 26 touchdowns. Then Maurice Morris up the middle. They thought he was in. Seahawks felt he was in with 5 minutes to go, but they rule it the 1. And so at this point, oh, go ahead. Mike Holmgren says, show. And what do you, yeah,
well,
go
don't
ahead.
let him know right away.
Yeah. Just wait a minute. Now he comes in. And off left guard, it's a touchdown. The record-tying 27th touchdown. Sean Alexander in the game, 139 yards rushing, 18:07, steamrolling toward what will probably be the rushing title for him as well. The Seattle Seahawks accomplished what they set out to do. They've won 11 in a row. They've won as many games, 13, as the rest of their division combined. They're the #1 seed in the NFC. The Colts are #1 seed in the AFC. But then the football game was over, and real life set in. Jim Caldwell after the game.
You find it to be true that when, tragedy strikes, oftentimes that you find an opportunity out on the field to kind of liberate yourself of some of your problems and troubles, and that's, I think, what they were able to do. The effort was good out there. They ran around and got after it pretty good. And but nevertheless, when the game is over with and prior to the game and prior to getting here, they're still in somewhat of a somber mood.
So I think everybody, head coach and his family, on our minds, obviously throughout the entire second half of the week, and and during the game, and we had the patches on the back of our helmets in honor of his son. So everybody carries Coach Dungy, and our prayers are with him. But when you're out there playing, you're out there trying to do your job.
Well, and look, that was the bigger picture, and it's not for us to say what the Colts will be like, Tom, in 2
No, I don't know. None of us know.
What Coach Dungy is, but he will have the time off that he needs, and he has all of our prayers and all the wishes of everybody across America, across the world that follows football. Quickly on Seattle, they're the team in the NFC that is doing all the things and winning all the games.
Yeah, people talked about who's going to separate themselves as the team to beat in the NFC. I think we clearly see it's the Seattle Seahawks. I think the only question for Seattle now, you've clinched everything. You've got an 11-game winning streak going. Momentum, the thing we started talking about at the beginning of this show. Do you really try to, keep that momentum going, win that last game? You're going to have a week off anyway. Good problems to have if you are Coach Mike Holmgren.
A reminder, the Seahawks haven't won a playoff game since Chuck Knox, 1984. So that's where they're cruising towards. And it is just interesting that next week, Mike Holmgren and the Seahawks go play Brett Favre at Lambeau Field. That's a whole nother
discussion. I guess he will be
for
interested in
another
that,
time.
won't he?
So, and Alexander's a chance to set
Yes,
the record.
yes.
So, you know, he'll be in at least for some. When we return, game balls on an exhilarating and at the same point a somber day of football, and something we've never seen before in the NFL. Game balls.
NFL Primetime, presented by Miller. There's good enough, and there's better than it has to be. Miller, good call. And in part by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. With Visa's multiple layers of security, you're protected.
Boomer, my game ball goes to Santana Moss. He's got 9 touchdowns on the year, all of them long. That's probably the shortest one right there. The Jets, the team that he came from, they have 9 on the season. You look at those numbers, this is Santana Moss's season in microcosm. This is what he's done to everybody they played.
Well, we have never before seen a kick return and an interception return for touchdowns in the same game. Terrence McGee, no one circles the wagon like Terrence McGee and the Buffalo Bills. And so he gets my game ball. Indy, Denver, New England, Cincy 3-4, Jacksonville 5, probably Pittsburgh, Seattle, maybe Chicago, Tampa, Giants, Carolina. They can. Merry Christmas.